All right. Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Tania Gustafson here, your nutritionist and fitness coach. Hello, 8 Weeks family. Great to be back. Sorry I missed last week's podcast and that today the time was all discombobulated. I'm just getting back from vacation, getting back on track. I know that a lot of you guys can relate when you've gone on vacation and you come back, and then sometimes things just aren't quite the way that, they don't pan out the way that you want. So that's what we're here to talk about, though. Some 5 tips to enjoying vacationing food and not bringing back any weight with you. Because I'm a firm believer in traveling, enjoying all the fun things, eating all the things, trying all the local fare, and bringing back souvenirs, but not bringing back anything around your waist, right? Okay. So if you're with me, drop a 1 in the chat below, because we all love to travel. At least, I think most people do. But there's that certain sort of hesitation sometimes with people, especially if you've been on the dieting roller coaster a lot of your life or for a good chunk of time. There's that whole hesitation about trying new things and about, stepping out from where you normally have been at home, because for the fear of gaining weight, you're the fear of losing any ground that you've already gained. If that makes sense. Okay. So if that's speaking to you, put a little hand up there, because I'm talking to myself as well too, from years gone by, because this is a common thing and it shouldn't be, because as we've talked about, almost ad nauseum here in the group, that food is just part of our culture, and I've said it, I don't know how many times now, but I challenge someone to find me a culture where food is not something that's important, where food is not celebrated and brought out at every fun occasion, because there really isn't one. I don't believe there is one. Even somebody just drops over unexpectedly, you have nothing really to serve them, you at least bring out a cup of tea or some ice water or some lemon water or something, right? We always do something. Sitting down, breaking bread, sitting at the table, enjoying something together brings people together. And that is so true, especially when we're traveling as well too, because there's so many different things to try. So recently I was just in Mexico, and we've been there before, not often, I've only been there once with my husband, and once many, many years ago with my parents. And we were looking at a lot of things. It was a busy trip. I do plan and take some things with me, and I'm going to go through my 5 tips, because I did go there and I did eat all the things and try some new stuff. And I did not come home feeling, bloated and my pants got too tight and all of those things. And I still enjoyed myself. And that's what I want to share with you, and if you have any travel tips as you're listening to this, please chime in with what you do, because different lengths of travel, different ways we travel, whether we're traveling, by car or in an RV or by plane or by train or backpacking, there's a whole bunch of different ways to travel. So your way might not be the same as what I did at this time, but I'm just going to give you some general tips from what I have learned as I've traveled to many, many different places, and Mexico is mostly, just my most recent endeavor. So, all right. So I'm going to chat about a few things here, and I have a little list. So if you see me looking away, I'm not looking away from you. I'm just making sure that I don't miss anything on my list that I wanted to say. So the 5 things, so drop a 5 below if you're tracking with me here and you want to know these 5 things, 5 tips to make sure that your next trip, that you bring home souvenirs and memories, but not the weight around the middle. That's my goal for you here today. So my number 1 tip, always take food with you. This goes with wherever you go, but especially when you're traveling. So my husband and I, we travel, and even when I'm on my own, I travel with my favorite PFC protein powder, number 1. I take a few protein bars that I love. I take some nuts, my homemade trail mix I make up, a few pieces of fruit with me so we can eat on the plane, and some things that we can put together on the plane, and a large water bottle. So of course you can't go through security with liquids, right? But I fill it after we clear security. So what I do often is I'll have some small little Ziploc bags where I put my portioned out protein powder in there per shake. You know, if your protein powder doesn't come individually bagged like mine, comes in a larger bag, then I make the little ones, and that with my protein bars, and I put it in my water bottle, screw the lid on, and I get through security. When I get through security, I can take those out, put them in my carry-on backpack, and then I fill my water bottle up so that when I get on the plane, I have a good amount of water to stay hydrated. It's very dry up there. The air pressure and all of that things can cause extremities to swell a little bit sometimes. You ever notice that? You get off the plane and you might feel a little squishy, puffy. You want to make sure that you have enough liquids. And some people will tell me, well, Tania, that means I have to get up and use the washroom a lot. And I tell them, yes, that's a good thing, because number one, you're getting up and you're moving, so it gets your circulation going. And that's going to help reduce the incidence of swelling. Plus which, if you're sitting there trying not to drink so that you don't have to get up and go to the bathroom, you are dehydrating your body. So depending on the flight, ours is 4.5 hours. It's very dry up there. There's lots of dry air being pumped in, plus the time that you're waiting in the waiting room before you get on the plane, and then the time that you have to do check-in to customs on the other side. It's a long day. So if you're limiting yourself, or if you're only maybe drinking coffee or tea on the plane, which is going to further dehydrate you, you're going to have low energy when you get to the other end. You're going to feel tired, lots of yawning and things like that. If you find yourself doing that, you can't focus or read that book that you wanted to, drink up. You need your water, okay? So travel with food and your water is number one. Eat breakfast, especially before you get on the plane. You're going to eat a good breakfast, a good balanced breakfast, PFC, PFC every 3. Eat your PFC breakfast, so making sure that you got the protein in there, and eat breakfast every day when you're on your vacation, and include a protein. So if you're at one of those places where you get a continental breakfast, which usually means muffins and croissants or pancakes or something that has no protein, then take out one of those little portions of protein shake it up while you're at the breakfast bar there, and try and choose something that you're going to enjoy. But now you've got your protein shake as well too. So although you might be eating something different than you wouldn't be eating at home, maybe it's a little more processed. Maybe you don't eat muffins for breakfast at home and you have eggs and toast or whatever. Then now you've got your protein to offset that carbohydrate. Okay. So be thinking as you're doing this. That way you don't have to just load up on a whole bunch of carbs and then you're going to crash in a little while. Because yes, we need our carbs, but we need the protein and the fat to go with, right? So having that great breakfast with a protein is going to set the tone for your body for the day, starts your metabolism off right, burning fat instead of storing it, right? And protecting that muscle. So you're going to have more energy when you go out to enjoy your day. Okay. So if you skip breakfast, your energy is going to crash rather quickly. You're going to be headachy, not going to have as much fun, maybe hangry. Nobody loves to hang around a hangry person, right? So make sure that you fuel before you go out. And now I'm just going to have a little caveat here. Not fueling to the point where, anyone ever done this? Okay, we're going to stock up, we're going to tank up and eat such a massive breakfast because we're going to be gone a long time and I'm not sure if we're going to be back for lunch. Okay, all you're going to do there is spike your blood sugar, store that extra food as fat, and then crash later. You know those times when you eat a big lunch, you're in a business meeting or you're at some kind of workshop or something, doing a lot of sitting, they give you these big heavy meals with a lot of bread or buns or muffins or things like that. And then later on, you kind of you feel like you want to doze off. Okay, that's what's going to happen. So what you want to do then is, if they do offer you a lot of food, maybe you can take some with you for later. And again, if they don't give you a lot of protein options, that's why you take your bars. That's why you take your shakes. That's why you maybe go to the local grocery store when you pull in, or the little, store next to the hotel or wherever you're staying, and grab a few items that you can take with you. Okay. So that was just a little tag on there. Number 3. So first, the first 2, you're going to take food with you, food and water with you when you travel. Number 2, you're going to make sure you eat breakfast before you travel and before you go out on your tours or to do your day when you're at your destination. Number 3, take a small day pack with you to carry your water and your snacks as you're out and about and visiting. Because if you have it with you, you're more likely to use it. If you don't take it with you, you're just going to keep going and keep going and keep going. And then that's going to be where you're going to fall back into those old habits of trying to eat a ton of food to last you or to skip meals. and just kind of, push through until you get to the next dinner time, right? And again, that's going to have your body storing the fat and burning your muscle instead of the other way around. All right, so enjoy your treat foods guilt-free. That's number 4. All right, who's ever gone on vacation and you saw these wonderful things and you thought, yeah, I've always wanted to try that, but you didn't. And then you went home and you're like, oh, I really should have done it. But then I know I would have felt guilty. And it's kind of that battle, right? Okay, you got to leave the battlefield, okay? Get off the battlefield. Enjoy the treat foods guilt-free. Does that mean go hog wild and eat everything in sight? No. If you're at an all-inclusive resort and you have all-inclusive and you have the dessert bar and you have all the things times 10, it does not mean to go dive in and eat everything in sight just because it's there. Be choosy, okay? If you're going to have one of these things that are maybe high in sugar, high in processed carbohydrates or things like that, have it, pick the one that you're going to really, really want. Something that you really enjoy or something that you've always wanted to try. And when you're being choosy like that, the studies show that you're A, satisfied with a smaller portion, and B, most importantly, you're going to be able to enjoy it guilt-free because oh my gosh, I saved it. This is the one I wanted and I savored it and I enjoyed it. And that allows you to do that guilt-free, as opposed to, oh, look, I'm just going to try a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, and a little bit of this. And later on, you kind of look back and then start beating up on yourself. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I should have just waited. Shoulda. Pretty soon you're shooting all over yourself. Remember, we talked about that before. That is not a good place to be. Okay, so no shooting on yourself. Also, if you're trying to balance those treat foods, make sure that you're having that protein ahead of it, okay? So think about, what is this dessert or this treat made up of? Think about it, right? If you're having a cheesecake, it's primarily a fat and some carbohydrate. If you're having a piece of cake, it's a lot of carbohydrate and some fat. Both of those things need a protein to go with it, right? If you're having a cookie, if you're having an ice cream, think about what it's made up of. Right? What components? Does it have a protein in it? Does it have a carb in it? Does it have a fat in it? And which is it most of? And that way you'll know which one is mostly missing so that you can add that. Right? So if you're thinking about having your treats after a meal and having a good clean meal with the mostly free carbs, if you can, if you're really trying to balance. And then when you have your treat, that will, you're offsetting that a little bit. And then the other school of thought as well, like we also teach in here, is that you can enjoy something and have it your off plan or your celebration meal and just eat whatever it is that, you choose at the time. And then 3 hours later, you're back on plan. So not worrying about balancing it at all, but 3 hours later, you're back on plan. And when we do these ones, we want to make sure that we kind of plan it and not just willy-nilly randomly just go off plan, because then again, later, you're going to start going back on yourself and going, oh, I shouldn't have done that. You're going to start the shoulding all over again. Okay. Is that making sense? If that's making sense, give me a 10 down below. All right. Okay. So now alcohol. You go on holidays, there's always some drinks involved somewhere, right? Alcohol is a carb. So this is tip number 5. Alcohol is a carb. Think of it as a piece of white bread, because that's how it's going to behave with regards to blood sugar. It doesn't get metabolized the same way in your liver as whole foods do or processed foods do, but it does behave with your blood sugar spike the same way as a highly processed piece of white bread or something like that, okay? So basically, if your alcohol is your carb, you really want to pair that with your protein and your fat, and then you have a balance. Now that will work with, 1 6-ounce glass of wine. It'll work with 1 ounce of hard liquor. It'll work with 1 glass of beer. It's not going to work as well or at all if you're having multiple drinks back to back, as would be expected, right? It's not like you would go and have 3 pieces of cake and expect you could balance that. Okay, so thinking about that. Again, if this is your off-plan meal and you decide you want to have 2 glasses of wine, or you want to have a fancy cocktail before the meal, and you want to have wine with your dinner, and you're doing something out of the ordinary and that's your celebration meal, then that's what you do. And then 3 hours later, you're back on plan. If you're doing those celebration meals, really make sure that you're having lots of water before and after. You want to flush that out. If you're using the nitro that a lot of us use in here, the little drops, you're going to want to have a couple extra shots of that before and after, and that will help to really flush out that bloat, the extra sugar, the toxins, all of that. Okay, so all right, hopefully that helps. So let's give a little rundown on these. And so, you know what, when I turned 50, hubby and I traveled throughout the UK and Europe. We did 12 cities over 8 countries, and we were gone for 5 weeks. We did, I did enjoy the croissant and the wine and cheese in Paris. I had the gelato in Italy and in Greece. And we even went to the original Lindt factory in Zurich, and we did a chocolate tasting there. Okay. And we did it guilt-free. And because we knew how to balance, because I set us up to win throughout the day when we were doing this, and because we, were making sure that we were fueling consistently and having lots of water and enjoying ourselves and getting lots of movement, when we came back, there was no extra weight involved. I was actually a pound lighter. And so I say that to share this with you, that these are, these 5 tips will get you through any travel at any length of time. And you're going to be able to enjoy where you're going, enjoy who you're doing it with, enjoy the food that's there, and come back not feeling like you've got that extra bit around the middle that now you need to, dive into that latest diet and start depriving yourself again, because that is not what we want to do. Okay. So I hope that's helped you today. Let's do a quick little recap. Those 5 tips to enjoy vacation food without bringing home the weight. Number 1, always take food and water with you. Number 2, eat breakfast on the day of travel and every day while you're gone, making sure you have that breakfast with protein. Take your small day pack so you can carry things with you. If it's there, you'll use it. Number 4, enjoy your treat foods guilt-free, right? Guilt-free. And number 5, alcohol is a carb. So remembering to balance that with a protein and a fat whenever you can, and that's going to serve you well. So I hope these tips helped you, and I hope that as we get closer to summertime and people are doing their vacations, whether you're camping, whether you're taking a plane somewhere, going on a cruise, whatever it is you're doing, drop it down in the chat there if you know where you're going yet, and what is your favorite travel tip. If I said, pick your favorite travel tip that you'd like to share with me or with anybody, and drop that in the comments as well. Okay, so let us know where you're going, where you're watching from, and your favorite tip. All right, thanks for watching here on Fit Nutrition Podcast today in the group, and we'll see you again next week.